Greetings, loves. It is I, Tactical Girlfriend. Welcome back to the channel. I hope everybody's doing well. Today, I'm going to be discussing something that is very simple, very basic, but also extremely important and fundamental for anybody who might be looking to shoot long guns, and that's going to be slings, of course. Now, the first thing I want to do is simply just ask the question, do you need a sling? The answer is yes, absolutely, you need a sling. No long gun is complete without a sling. And just like any handgun needs a holster, yeah, you need a sling. Unless you're just doing bench shooting, unless you're limited to only doing bench shooting for some reason, in which case, no judgment there. But otherwise, why would you limit yourself that way? You need to get a sling on that thing, so just do it. Now, I know everybody out here is probably like, Tactical GF, when are you going to put out an AK video? When are you going to put out a night vision video? Soon. But in the meantime, I do want to talk about this extremely underappreciated, very underrated, and extremely fundamental aspect of shooting long guns. It is an accessory that is absolutely crucial to know how to use and to be able to use effectively in order to use the long gun itself effectively. Yes, it's not glamorous. Yes, it's not high tech. It's a very, very simple strip of fabric, but that being said, it is still one of the most important things about the gun itself. So please bear with me here, you just might learn something. Now I want to start by talking about different kinds of slings. The first one being the one-point sling. The one-point sling is a fairly specialized sling. It's a weird one. It's primarily intended for CQB scenarios where your hands are probably going to be on the gun throughout the majority, if not all of the course of usage of said gun and sling. It's really, really good for being able to switch shoulders because there's only one point of contact on the sling, so there's nothing really getting in your way from transitioning from shoulder to shoulder. That's about where the advantages are going to end with this kind of sling. As far as retention goes, it's very awkward when you let go of the gun because it just falls straight down, and that can hit you in some really awkward areas. Beyond that, if you try running hands-free with a sling on the gun, just passively retained, it just bounces all over the place, and that's extremely annoying. So the one-point sling is a weird one. It's generally relegated these days to really cheesy 90s SWAT films. Now another kind of sling will be the three-point sling. We don't talk about those. Now, if you're really good with numbers, you can probably guess what the next sling is going to be. And yes, that is the classic two-point sling. This one attaches by 2 points. It's been on long guns since the beginning of time, and it will continue to be on long guns till the very end. Now, again, this is the classic two-point sling. It's not the quick adjust one. I just wanted to show you a crappy classic two-point sling on an airsoft gun because I would never run that on an actual gun. And also, especially cotton, side note, cotton sucks when it gets wet, it gets really sticky, and you can't move around with it very easily, so nylon is absolutely the way to go, and I'll go into that further in just a minute here. Moving along, we have the next evolution of the two-point sling, and that is the quick adjust two-point sling. Now, as the name implies, it is a very easy and quick to adjust sling by rapidly being able to change the length of the sling on the fly. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of slings out there that are really good, different kind of manufacturers who make two-point slings like Blue Force Gear, Viking Tactics, Magpul. This one is from Ferro Concepts, and it is the Slingster. It has a nice little bit of padding here for added comfort, and I put these on all my long guns and absolutely swear by them. Now, I don't have any relationship with Ferro Concepts. In fact, they absolutely drive me crazy how they act like they're a fashion company with their drops, but regardless, I love you and I hate you, Ferro Concepts, but making a good sling is not an easy feat, and they absolutely do the trick. One of the most important aspects of a sling is figuring out how you're going to mount it to your gun. A lot of guns have fixed mounting points, such as holes where you loop the material through, or points where hooks would attach to. There's also sometimes fixed D-rings like that on the AK-74. All those are very, very valid and very effective ways of mounting a sling to your gun. That being said, one of the most common ways these days is a quick detach system, or QD. With QD mounts like these from BCM, all you need to do is simply press in on the button and it pops right off. That's super convenient. It's very easy to take your sling off and change it out or put it away for storage. Really, really nice to have. Beyond that, these things actually save lives. QD mounts make it very, very easy to remove a long gun from somebody who has gone down in a medical emergency. First thing that you need to do is take the gun off of them before you start administering aid. In that event, you definitely want one of these. This is going to save you a lot of time rather than trying to fish this off of somebody who's just lying there bleeding, and that's just, I don't even want to think about it. So QD mounts, absolutely the way to go. Also, some QD mounts allow swiveling all the way around in a 360 pattern. Others don't, like these. These are fairly fixed in place with just a little bit of play. That's a personal preference thing. Just something to consider though when you're shopping around for these. Now, with regards to how I like to mount my sling to my gun, I usually follow the same formula. On the very back, I mount that on the dominant side of the buttstock, the right side, and the sling wraps around. And then on the other end, it goes to the very, very furthest point that I can get it on the non-dominant side, the left side of the gun. This is to create a very, very, very solid and stable platform. Having the longest arc you can get from around and up to the front is going to give you a lot of stability. Now, some people do like to mount the forward section a little bit further back because they feel it gets in their way when they're trying to manipulate their gun and their attachments. That's totally valid. It just depends on your ergonomics and what you need. Also, some people like to use a butt plate here where they actually take the rear attachment point and put it there. That's totally valid. You can absolutely do that. Some people like to do that to keep the sling out of the way when it's around their shoulders and let it kind of fall more center line. I don't think that's generally really that great and useful. It's almost like having a 1-point sling, but just with a little bit more stability. So it's nice to have that feature if you ever do want to kind of try to play around with that, but this is generally how I like to run mine. Now, some people might wonder why I opt to put the sling on the right side of the buttstock instead of the left, and that is a very intentional choice. When I am going hands-free, this keeps everything pressed much tighter and neater against my body, as opposed to having it kind of flop around if the sling was mounted on the other side. It's just a little bit added stability that does go a long way. Also, when I am presenting the long gun, it allows the sling to go around my neck without rubbing against it and getting all bunched up inside here in the pocket. It just makes everything a lot neater and easier. Now, with regards to how you want to have your overall length of your sling adjusted, you ideally want it so that with the quick adjust mechanism cinched down all the way, you have your buttstock very closely indexed into your shoulder pocket. This way, every time you present, it's very consistent and very easy. There's no slack or anything like that, because the last thing you want to be doing is one of these. That is not efficient. With that said, again, with a quick adjust, tighten down all the way, you want to make sure that you can just barely shoulder this with the sling allowing you to do so. You want a lot of tension in that sling, so much so that you can actually really easily present one-handed and feel the sling really doing most of the work there. That is going to be setting the upper limits of your quick adjustment system. Now, the reason that you would set your sling up this way is to take full advantage of the sling's quick adjustment system. You can get passive retention simply by shouldering, adjusting, tightening it down all the way, and letting the sling really create some tension to stabilize your shots. You can do this in offhand position, you can do this in prone, it doesn't matter, but it is a very, very smart and effective way of using a quick adjust 2-point sling. Now, if your sling is not set up for this for whatever reason, there is a method of doing pretty much the same thing that's specifically developed for classic 2-point slings that did not have a quick adjustment system. That would be to simply shoulder the gun, bring your arm through the sling, and then under, and taking up any slack in that sling, wrapping it around your arm, will allow you to get a much more stable shot. One of the biggest struggles of using a 2-point sling is switching from your dominant shoulder to your non-dominant shoulder. There's a couple ways of dealing with this. First of all, you can simply loosen the sling and then switch over. If that doesn't work, if your sling is still too tight, You can simply swim your support hand through the sling and then switch it over. Another really important shooting usage for the sling is going to be to transition from your main gun to your sidearm. With a 2-point sling, it naturally tends to just simply fall to your non-dominant side when you drop the gun, allowing you to very quickly access your sidearm and have enough clearance to do so. Another really no-brainer utility of slings that are really important is, of course, allowing you to have your hands free. Not every problem can be solved with a long gun. In fact, most can't, even when you're shooting a long gun. So being able to free up your hands is very essential, and a sling allows you to hold the gun in retention against your body and allowing you to do whatever you need to do with those hands. Furthermore, the quick adjust system allows you to tighten it further against your body for added stability. Also, if you need the gun tighter against your body and the quick adjust is cinched down all the way already, you can simply flip it over like this. Now, if you're going on a long jaunt, you're definitely going to need a sling. Generally, you're probably going to want to actually have the gun shouldered behind your back, and that allows you to have even more stability, more freedom of movement, being able to actually hike around if you need to. It's a very, very useful thing, and it's very necessary in my opinion. I actually do it quite often. It also allows me to carry things and do administrative tasks, what have you. Now, I generally like to have my muzzle pointed up when it's against my back. You might opt to actually point it down. That's just a matter of personal preference. Also, I like to sling under my arm and pull it and retrieve the gun from under my arm too. Some people like to go over the shoulder, and that's completely legit. This is all just a matter of personal taste. The most important thing here is just to make sure that your safety is on and that you're very aware of where your muzzle is pointed at all times. Another useful but underappreciated utility for a sling is using it for a low crawl. When you're doing any skull tracking, being able to grab the very forward section of your sling and using it as a handle for your long gun can come in really handy. Another note on my sling setup, I like to have ranger bands attached to my buttstocks and pistol braces, and that's primarily so that I can tuck the excess sling into the ranger band. Now, ranger bands are kind of just industrial strength rubber bands. You can basically make them out of spare tire tubes from bikes, and that's pretty much just what they are. You could also pay a premium for ranger bands. They're advertised as such, whatever. They actually are really, really handy. This is specifically good for storage as well as for vehicle operations. If you are in a vehicle for whatever reason with a long gun, it really helps keep the sling out of the way, prevents you from getting caught, and that is very, very easy to do in a vehicle. And if you do need your sling in a jiffy, you can just simply pull it right out, and you've got your sling. Well, that's all the sling talk I got for you today. If you got a favorite sling, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell too. Also, YouTube randomly unsubscribes people for no apparent reason, so in the event that you have subscribed before, you may want to check back again. As always, I want to offer up a huge thank you to everybody on Patreon who is supporting this channel. You make this possible. This channel is not at all monetized. Everything that you see here comes from viewers like you. If you want to go help out, you can go to patreon.com/tacticalgf. You can see the end of the video for the names of my biggest contributors. And that's a wrap. I really appreciate you all tuning in. Please be good to each other out there. And as always, please take care. Bye!